Well, it's time now for Media Watch with Emma James, who joins us live in the studio. Good to see you, Emma.
Hi there.
We're going back to one of our top stories tonight, the Greek crisis with the clock ticking until that midnight deadline for Alexis Tsipras. It's playing out, of course, all across the media and online. But is anybody happy about what's going on?
Well, it seems that as this story goes on and on, the only people who are happy right now are the cartoonists, because they never seem to run out of ideas on this one. If we take a look at Christian Adams's latest offering, we've got the Last Chance Beer Keller with Angela Merkel portrayed as the busty barmaid and Alexis Tsipras as her rather worse for wear customer.
Oh dear.
And the little sign that you might not be able to make out there says, "Do not ask for credit, as refusal may offend." Hervé Baudry as well has been putting pen to paper on this one, and he's got Angela Merkel painted as bad cop, while François Hollande is there as good cop. Now, the reason for that, if we take a look at the Times article for some more sensible reporting on this one, really, they say that basically François Hollande is almost alone in his fight to save Greece from exiting the Eurozone. They say the president has cast France as the potential saviour of the Eurozone, if you like. With the clock ticking, they say France is making a frantic backstage move to really help things along. Now, they've denied reports, though, the French government, that they're actually helping the new finance minister in Greece to draw up these new proposals. They've said that's not actually the case. But France has said it accepts it's a tiny minority now, with most countries beginning to accept that a Grexit is indeed imminent.
Oh, interesting. So France, a potential saviour for Greece. Are there any other white knights waiting in the wings?
Well, potentially the United States, funnily enough. Now, they've been keeping their distance, really, from the Greek crisis since it really started to become a world issue. And it was only a few weeks ago that Barack Obama, in a press conference, said that essentially it's a European problem. While they're keeping an eye on it in the United States, it's not really their issue. But now, according to the Telegraph, Europeans are being told to bring Greece back from the brink and avoid descent into uncontrolled Grexit. They say the White House is stepping up its warnings in terms of the geopolitical and financial issues that could ensue from a Greek exit. They say letting Greece go could mean a future of riots and chaos for Athens. Now, the US Treasury Secretary, Jacob Lew, says both sides are basically gambling with the stability of the global economy, so really changing their tone on this one. He also went on to say you wouldn't usually buy billions of dollars of risk for just a few billion. So really basically hinting there, just bail them out, forget the money they owe you, because in the long run it will save you a lot more. Charles Crawford, a former UK diplomat, sums it up rather neatly, this situation. He says the EU is like that cartoon character that races over the edge of the cliff and runs far out into thin air before pausing for thought.
Back to cartoon characters. That one. Let's move on to another story. The battle over the battle flag has been won. The Confederate flag will be coming down the flagpole in South Carolina, the one that used to fly outside the government building there. But there are talks now about taking it down elsewhere in the United States as well.
Yes, and the Confederate flag, basically, one of the things that's always been quite contentious about this is that people linked it to real historic American matters. But one thing that the Washington Post is keen to point out is that it's only 50 years, just over, since South Carolina first actually raised the Confederate flag over the State House. So it isn't really a question of ancient history. And the reason they raised that flag then was because it was the height of the civil rights movement, and they did it as a means of protest. So real racist reasons for flying this flag in South Carolina. Given that motivation, it seems strange, really, that this hasn't been more of an issue before now. Of course, it has been raised now because of the shooting dead of 9 black parishioners at a church in Charleston. But there's also been some rather childish and political chicanery surrounding this one. And Dinesh D'Souza, who not many people have heard of here in France, but he's quite well known in the United States as being a conservative author, clearly very critical of Hillary Clinton. He tweeted this image to his followers and put it on Facebook too, of Hillary Clinton.
A very young Hillary Clinton.
Very young, in her student days, with supposedly a Confederate flag behind her. Now, everyone else then pointed out this is a fake photoshopped photo.
So easy to be fooled these days.
Exactly, including the Daily Beast, who commented contacted Dinesh D'Souza to get his response to it. And his error, after being pointed out, he had this amazingly sexist response. Even if the Confederate flag was edited into this Hillary photo, what is going on with those glasses and that hairdo?
Mature.
Really, absolutely. Anyway, interestingly, the internet has kind of fought back on this one, because here we have Dinesh D'Souza appearing left, right and centre on the internet, Twitter users basically creating their own images of Dinesh D'Souza with inappropriate insignia behind him. In this one, he's standing beside the flag that is favoured by the ISIS militants. So plenty of things like that, including more images of him with a swastika. So really, he perhaps has learnt to be a little bit more careful about what photographs he's choosing to put online in the future.
Photoshop fun, it never ends, does it, Emma? Thank you very much indeed, Emma James with Media Watch.